was asked a great question the other day, and I'm going to answer it here because I'm sure more than one person has pondered this in regards to simultaneous existence and parallel lives. Is it possible? Quantum science has some theories, some concepts, and doing experiments that would say yes. It is the one that kind of links into it the most is what's called the superposition experiment. And in that, they observed that particles can simultaneously exist in different forms at the same time until they are observed. Now, based on the fact that we are in a universe of matter, we consist of the same things. Therefore, technically, we should be able to as well be in two places at the one time. And wouldn't we really want that sometimes? Yes. So it is, based on that, possible. I'm going to say it's a mind stretching thing to think about because we think very linear here. So yes, it is possible to be there. And so then it's interesting because we talk about past lives. And as you know, I'm teaching about past lives in a couple of weeks. So it's really interesting because technically it may not be past. It's just in a different time and space too now. And you are able to remember, kind of cross over that little energy link to be able to get it. It's almost like when we got a cross telephone line for those that are super old that remember when we used to, dial phones and have cross lines. It's a little bit like that. We have a cross line and that's how we can kind of remember what's going on. It's interesting though, because then that segues us into the two definitions of parallel lives. And there are two definitions. One is where we are having simultaneous existences in different spaces and different times at the same time, a bit like those particles. And then there is where we have people that we encounter in our life, and you can pretty much tick off what you have gone through and what they have gone through. It's like, oh my goodness, so many things are the same. So there's two concepts of parallel lives. And in that one where it's a different person having a life that is very similar to yours, we have to then go into another layer of it because technically it also may fall into soulmate category. And I'm going to do a different video on soulmates and twin flames because I know that these are concepts that people want to understand more, but soulmates are not always romantic. It is like we have one big, I'm going to say one big, for some reason, I must be hungry, one big bowl of biscuit mixture. It's all the same thing, and there's little biscuits made out of that. All one big piece of cloth, and we've just cut up and made a whole heap of shirts out of the one cloth. This is what that soulmate is. It's one big lump of energy that is all the same, and then it's divided up. And it's not, as I said, not always romantic. It's not always awesome either. It is can be friends, can be family, can be romantic. Any kind of relationship can show up in this space. And it's, as I said, it's not always awesome. There's lots of lessons in it. And sometimes it doesn't last forever, these connections, depending on what the lesson is. So it's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. But the answer is based on the superposition concept that we can exist in more than one time and space, having an existence at the same time, for sure. Definitely possible based on that. That can occur until observed, and then it shifts and changes. So if you think potentially you are having a parallel life and you're existing in one place more than once, don't check yourself out because it's going to close the door. Remember, it's once we observe, it shifts and changes. So yes, as I said, nice rabbit holes to go down. The parallel life where we having multiple existences in one. This is where I said it ties into that past life concept. And we need to understand that the time and space continuum and what that, it's not how we perceive it here. So that's why sometimes it's like stretching our brain to think time and space is like a ball of string, all kind of loosened up, but then all still tangled. And sometimes they touch, sometimes they don't. They are definitely not straight, and there is definitely not this clear, concise beginning and end that we associate with here, simply because this thing runs out of puff. And so that's why we think there is a beginning and an end. There is a beginning and end for part of us, but not all of us. It's really fascinating. So I'd love to hear of any of your experiences, comments, how you feel about this. Put it underneath the video and let me know. Bye.